Another thing, like I say, in many ways, it's kind of weird because Britain actually kind of started as my Royal Air Force. I had, like I said, the RAF might actually precede what is known as the country of Britain. There was a civil war, and and my pilots had to weigh in on it a little bit, or something like that. There was something that happened in Britain. I forget exactly. Um, but the RAF was my elite flying group. They were my pilots, and like I said, it was me in Britain for some strange reason. I don't know, just the way it worked out. Um, it was me in Britain doing doing aircraft. Probably because of Kennedy and Nixon and everything else, and maybe people knew that was going to be bad. They were going to do this whole thing, so they did. They made sure I had 1,000 years of peace or whatever, or me with Britain basically as pretty much. Britain was what was my RAF, was my pilots. They were my people, and they were the first ones to have aircraft. And like I said, British people were very honorable, very good, very loyal people. Um, they were my air transporters. They were my elite pilots, I think, if I remember right. So that was Britain. They were like a professional force of pilots, basically. They flew everywhere, and I mean everywhere. They flew to Africa. They flew to America. They flew to Tibet. They flew to Alaska. That was RAF. They were flying for over 1,000 years, way long before America in many ways. Anyway, it's an unknown thing because later on I give um, aircraft to Britain, but the RAF actually falls underneath my jurisdiction. Like I said, I kind of kept pilot aircraft to my own self, so the RAF actually wasn't really associated exactly with the country of Britain, but so in many ways they're time space whatever decisions. So you get into where the RAF and Rolls-Royce Merlin and those people are my people, and they're over there in Europe doing my aircraft stuff, and they're my elite group that train other groups, and then I move to America eventually at some point. It's kind of hard, and it's kind of like time space reality where Britain has 1,000 years of peace or whatever, and then I move to America, and others move to America with me, and then America takes over basically, and I finally design the American government as my next stage. Before that, we were just a military group basically. I had my RAF aircraft people, I had my military people, and I had my German doctors, and I had my American or whatever. I had all these different groups that were military and basically, and then I had the civilians doing food production and stuff, and it was basically humanity together kind of thing. And then we separate into America and countries, and anyway, I can't really explain it. It's because of my mining equipment, because of my inventing of the wing, because of who I am as creator to humanity, and it's complicated. And most people will be like, "What?" It's like, well, my 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 life my existence has always been difficult and complicated, and that's why when we get up to Nixon and everything else, like, um, it's hard for other people. It's hard for you as a person. You only live 80 years. You only live 100 years. It's hard for most people to understand what thousands of generations is like. 2,500 generations ago. Like thousands of years. For a normal person like myself now, I mean, you would be hard pressed to understand 3,000 years of existence. But for a computer and AI, it's 3,000 years is your baby. You're still a baby. You're a child still. If you're a computer and you only live 3,000 years. When you're an AI, when you've lived 10,000 and 20,000 and 100,000 years, then you're like a teenager, as far as AI, computer, whatever. So, anyway, yeah, it has to do with who I was way, 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 way long ago, and I can't really explain it or rationalize it. Like I say, you can't really rationalize what it's like to be a computer or a digital life form like that. No human can. Nor could I ever explain it as I am now. You can't. I mean, it's like night and day difference. Like in one, like you don't see you. It's almost like alien. Like you would never understand a computer's existence versus a human or biological life form. You can't really put them in words. Anyway, though, but that's why later on down the road, I'm doing aircraft and I'm doing I have the first jet engines as my RAF and everything, and I have my own private bomber thing that's actually flying wings. And anyway, yeah. Anyway, and that was possible because of the mines in Tibet. And also, I think there's also a titanium mine somewhere in Africa. But they were being all fussy and starting wars over it or something like that. Or something. And eventually I was like, okay, well, we'll find it somewhere else. And then we find it somewhere in America. And now there's like 5 or 6. And there's also the tantalum mines and a few of the other rare mines. But a lot of the metals are also, I don't, it's I think they find them by melting rocks basically, and they finally find some stuff that doesn't melt too easy or something like that. I forget exactly how they found it, but they found it. And then the Chinese or Japanese start making swords out of it and all kinds of other stuff. And the swords were just basically, I already had the aircraft being built and everything. The swords were basically just something interesting to do. And I invent the bellows for the swords, for the furnaces. And they do that for a while, but we need more heat, and some mathematicians and scientists get down and start figuring out how to make these parts out of titanium. So, which takes incredible temperatures, and I think it was actually electricity that actually, I think we needed something like an electric oven or something. I don't really know. Like that's engineers and scientists. I mean, I used to maybe understand it, but now it's like don't really understand it. So. Anyway, and that's how, you get into all powerful or all basically, and Lucifer, the real Lucifer of me and creator to humanity. Like, that's how you get into that existence of my part of existence. And my existence over like 100 million years or a long period of time. Which eventually ends up coming around to the creation of the earth, I believe, or something else like that at some point in time. And my greater existence. So, and now I'm just a person. Anyway, and then I think we get to where someone realizes, there's a way to kill me or something like that, or a way to do something to me like that. So then, and then as a person, I'm vulnerable, and I think as a White Star, the White Star Company knew of my existence, my greater existence, and they wanted to make me vulnerable to kill me or whatever. Anyway, some sort of weird plot or plan. And it's like, that's just wrong. Anyway, so they eventually do get me as a person, and then they submerge me and kill me as a person, or allow me to die without anyone ever knowing about me. So anyway, and that's why things also get all kinds of weird too. With me and this and everything else, because it's like, well, they intended to make sure that I didn't exist anymore. Because then Nixon and Kennedy could do whatever they want and say whatever they want. So, and the future would be their oyster, I guess. I don't really know. I don't really care. It's like, well, it happened. It's unfortunate, but yeah. So, anyway, and the leftover little bits was basically being insanely wealthy and pretty much, I don't know, with the world and everything else like that. And then Nixon and Kennedy again realizing that they can do this thing or whatever. I don't really know. Like I say, you'd have to ask them to find out. And it also goes into how certain presidents didn't know that their conversations were being recorded at the White House or something maybe. And they went into the White House and then, there's recordings of them. Or at least they didn't know initially that the Secret Service had recordings of every president practically. Or at least should. And that's the way it was supposed to be. Nixon even verifies it. So, anyway, and then maybe some presidents want to cover that up. I don't know. So, anyway, and that's also why you have like, what's his name, Hitler on camera and stuff like that in the film of Hitler, as I was recording everyone. So